My name's Molly Grimes. This is for GCR. I'm decided to videotape mine. For my GCR action reflection, I chose to go to a coffee shop by my school called Pod, and I have some coffee from there. They have a lot of healthy options, and they have it's mainly a coffee shop, but they have other food from breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have a lot of Thai food, and I've never eaten here before because I don't really like Thai food or spicy food, and all of their food that they offer is spicy. But yes, I am at a coffee shop right now, and I feel really awkward recording a video, but it's okay. As for the first question, what do you see, hear, smell, feel, taste that is familiar, unfamiliar in this context? Well, one thing that's different, that's really unfamiliar to me, is the idea of this being right by my school. Because where I grew up and went to high school, I was in the middle of the countryside. And so there was no coffee shop on the way to school. I had to drive for 15 minutes to get to school. And there was only 2 restaurants nearby, and even they were a mile away. So it was really hard. Like, you couldn't just get coffee before school. And you couldn't just leave class in the middle of lunch and get something across the street. So the location of it is extremely unfamiliar to me, that I just got out of class 5 minutes ago and walked over to a coffee shop to get coffee. That's really strange. It's also weird that it's right on the street, as like if I were to go to a Starbucks at home, it would just be you drive. My Starbucks had a drive-through. You could literally just drive through the Starbucks. You didn't have to even get out of your car or socialize with anyone. Whereas here, there's people walking by on the street. As I'm recording this, I can see people. I'm right at a window. So I guess I can turn this around. There's a street outside and tons of people and like flashing lights everywhere. So it's extremely unfamiliar to me, the idea of being at a coffee shop where there's people walking by, where anyone could see me, rather than just driving up, getting coffee, staying and talking to my friends, and then immediately driving away back home. And it's also weird because I never had coffee shops really besides Starbucks. Everyone went to Starbucks. That was the only coffee shop. I'm sure there was some local places nearby, but none that I knew of. None that I was aware of, and there was definitely no other chains besides Starbucks. So the fact that there's something other than Starbucks, I actually enjoy a lot more here. That there's actually, right next to this building, there's another coffee shop called Pret et Manger, which is just Pret, most people, and then there's Eat right down there, and I never get coffee from Eat, but they're all basically the same, one next to each other, and they're all 3 chains, but they're not Starbucks, which is typically the only place that I ever have gotten coffee from. And I like the coffee a lot better here than at Starbucks. It's cheaper. You don't get all these things with like so many different syrups and all of these different options. It's really just simple coffee. They have like lattes, mochas, but versus all of the frappuccinos and really done up things that you see at Starbucks, it's a lot simpler. It's a lot more homey, I feel, than just this big brand name of Starbucks. There's music playing in the background, which is familiar to me because there's always music playing at Starbucks and at any coffee shop when I would go back home. But the type of music is different because I'm used to hearing the top 100 iTunes music is always playing, especially because Starbucks is a really hip place to go to. And so I typically will hear that or see that going on. And I only ever hear that kind of pop music playing. And this is less pop, and I don't even know how to describe the music that's playing, but it's not music that I've really ever listened to before. It's not something you would hear on the radio, and at home at least. So that's something that's unfamiliar, yet still familiar in a way, because it's music, which is what you're used to hearing when you go into a coffee shop. Smell, I can smell the food that's cooking. It has a really strong pungent smell because it's like Thai food, like curry. They have curry. They have like black pepper chicken, kind of that kind of stuff, and so it smells really strongly. I can also kind of smell random things that come way off the street because the door is right next to me, and so as like people walk by or people walk in, I can smell like perfumes or just the rain. It's raining really hard, or not. It's been raining off and on all day, sprinkling the way it does in London, which is a feeling that's different than at home. Where I'm from, it used to rain for 5 minutes, pouring down rain, and then it would be over. And here, as is common, I always hear London stereotypes. It's just drizzling and constantly. So you can just kind of like smell the rain, and it's kind of coldish, like this general sense that it's a cold, rainy, London, dreary day. And you can hear it. You can hear the streets, which I'm actually right now kind of worried you can't hear me because there's like cars on the street going past, and that makes it harder to hear. I mean, you can constantly, there's a policeman across the street with his lights on that I can see. There's a shopping Sainsbury's grocery store right across the street, and I can hear all these cars. I can hear people talking. I can hear people talking behind me. I can hear people ordering. I can hear people just talking to their friends. And it's a really noisy atmosphere, but at the same time, when you're kind of on your own, you don't really feel that noise so much. You kind of feel more secluded. I'm just in a corner and I'm talking to my laptop, yet there's all this stuff going around. And that's something I'm also not really used to because where I'm from, it's a really small town. And so it's not normally a busy atmosphere like this. People walking by on the street, cars going past all the time. It's not something that I've experienced really because it's a city atmosphere, which it's not just particular to London in general. It's really any city, but it's not my general experience. So it's something that's extremely different, but I can see how it's still on the inside a coffee shop. It's a coffee shop that I would go to at home. I would just sit here and drink coffee with my friends. I used to do that a lot, especially senior year, when I had so much homework and college applications. So coffee became something that I was no stranger to. And so it's something that's really familiar back home. It's just sitting, enjoying a cup of coffee with my laptop, or a friend, or anyone. It's something that I would experience on a regular basis, even if it's not in this context of people walking by, lots of people around me, not a Starbucks. Feel, I kind of covered feel with it's cold. It's really cold. That's not really a physical feeling, but it's still a sensation of you're feeling the rain. It feels really kind of dreary and it's different. The one thing that actually is different, I guess, kind of feeling wise, is the cups. They don't have the cardboard thing around them. Like the cup's really thick and you can't feel, it doesn't hurt like a thin paper cup. These cups are actually really thick. And they don't have the cardboard sleeve to go around it. And so it's weird just holding a cup of coffee. Like, I mean, I'm sure you could no. I was like, I'm sure you can get a cardboard sleeve to go around it, but I don't even see where. Oh, no, yeah, they don't have them. So it's just a really thick material, and so it feels different than a regular coffee cup, where you would always, I mean, at Starbucks, you have the cardboard sleeve that goes around it to keep your hand from hurting, but you can just hold this, and it's not a big deal. Taste. The coffee does taste different. It tastes different here than it does in America, but I like this coffee better, to be honest. I'm not really someone, I always hated coffee my entire life. And I only made myself start to like it because I would always need it to get up in the mornings for school because I had so much homework, or I'd drink it to stay up at night. And so I only recently, like a year ago, got into drinking coffee, and I only liked it if it had a ton of sugar in it. It's the only time I drink it. Milk, sugar. That's it. Like I had to have stuff in it. And I mean, while this is sugar because it's a vanilla latte, it's a lot simpler. If I got a vanilla latte at home, I would pour so much sugar in it. I like this coffee better. Yet it's still, I always drink vanilla drinks. I really like vanilla. I would get vanilla mochas or vanilla bean frappuccino, and so it's familiar to me to have a vanilla coffee, but it tastes so much better, in my opinion at least, than in America. So it's all a setting that I'm really familiar with. At home, going to a coffee shop, I drink coffee at home. But it's a completely different setting, and it's very different than what I have been used to. But I can notice things that are very familiar to me. Just the fact that I have my laptop with a cup of coffee here, I feel very in my own world. It's something I'm very used to. The second question is, are the people in this familiar/unfamiliar context doing anything differently than what you would expect based on your experiences in the same kind of institution in your home community? Have you made any mistakes as you participate? How do locals see/describe this context? How do you know? Well, I don't really see any differences in this versus at home because it's simply just ordering coffee. But I do notice people look at me differently because of my accent. They kind of see foreigner when they hear my accent. And I mean, I have been pointed out so many times. Like I have a class at City University, and I was talking to someone, and I've been in this class. I have raised my hand. I have made comments. Sorry, my roommate was right there, and she looked at me. I have made comments in the class. I have raised my hand and talked, but they didn't notice, I guess, in a classroom setting. But then before class had started one day, people were talking, and I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, I totally understand," and I added into their conversation. And everyone turned and looked at me, and they were like, "What? Wait, you're from America? Is that what you're American?" And then they proceeded to ask me a bunch of questions about healthcare, why people don't like Obamacare, what it would be like if you went to a hospital in America if you didn't have healthcare, and all of these questions about that. And it seemed to be it was immediately what they jumped on. So it's in a way, I feel that when I go other places, I feel people look at me and go, "You're American." And I notice that when I do something like order coffee, I do notice that unfamiliarity of you're not like us in certain ways, you're not from here. And I feel it less in some ways less, in some ways more, when I'm in a situation where it's not a typical tourist thing. It's not really a touristy thing at 5:30 at night to get coffee at a coffee shop and sit down by yourself with a school bag. That is a very, I go to school here, I work here, I'm from here kind of thing. So in a way, it's less because it's not it's not your tourist. They can tell I'm not a tourist because of this. But on the other side, I do get kind of looks because it's kind of weird that I'm here and I'm not a tourist. Oh, you live here. And so I do kind of feel that in different ways. I feel the difference of being looked at as an outsider. So while it's not different than at home, it's just everyone drinking coffee. It is different in the way I feel people respond to me, because I have an accent and I'm quite obviously American. It is very different hearing the accents, especially because London is there's such a big community of people. There's so many different types of people, and it's so diverse that it's completely different than when I was at home. Where the people at home there was a lot of white people. I lived in a small town in North Carolina, where there was just farmers everywhere. And so my school, there was one Asian person in my graduating class, and there was one Muslim person in my graduating class, and that was it. So it's really strange to be around such a diverse community, And so I'm not used to going to coffee and seeing all these people. It's different, but not in a bad way, obviously. I like being aware that there are different people in the world besides white people, like besides country farmers who don't want to leave Nahana, North Carolina through the rest of their lives. And so I do experience different things. Sometimes I feel like I don't know how to react to the different people I see, but at the same time, I feel like it's a good thing that I'm surrounded, that it's a good difference. So the people are, they're not really doing things differently, but it's a different community than what I would be used to at home. I wouldn't really say I've made any mistakes, because ordering coffee is just ordering coffee. But earlier, I actually did notice at Pod they have these cards, like any other place. They have, cards that you stamp, and you get a free coffee once you order a certain number. And I couldn't find it in my wallet, and I was digging around because I have a lot of receipts in my wallet. And the guy was kind of looking at me like, "Okay, like come on." And then he just went ahead and gave me another card. And he was like, just keep that card, and you can just go ahead and start a new one. And he seemed really kind of like agitated because I was taking so long to look for it. And I felt like I was making a mistake, and I'm like, I'm sorry, like I know I have it in here somewhere. And it may just be my own perception, but I did kind of feel judged a little bit for being American, like, oh, it's one of those American students who can't find her card. I mean, that could just be my general perception of how I feel as an American in the country. But there is certain things that I notice like that. So that's my coffee experience. I don't know if I covered everything, but if I think of something I left out, I will write it, and I will respond to other people's, which I'm looking forward to reading. So, goodbye.